shakalaka!
Get up, it's time to slam now. We got the real jam going down. Welcome to the Space Jam.
Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good! Kyrie Irving from downtown! And the Cavaliers by three.
And welcome to the jam. Come on and slam.
Yo-ho! Welcome back, friends, to the Ultimate Warrior podcast. We've been called the greatest basketball podcast in the history of podcasts by many, many listeners. It actually was just me and Ted's mom that said that, and she knows nothing about basketball. But I'm staying with it. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Ben Christopher. I'm joined, as always, by the man who he's still the Penn 15 Club's disc golf champion. So congratulations. That's, of course, Mr.
Thank you.
Teddy Ballgame. How you doing there, Ted?
I'm doing all right. Haven't had a lot of fun watching the Cavs play recently, but the Indians did just have a walk-off home run tonight. So at least we got an Indians win tonight.
Two in a row, right? Not
did we?
Wins. Yeah, we got the W yesterday too.
Did we? Yeah, Luplo. It was Jordan Luplo. He hit a walk-off homer in the 10th inning today, so that was fun to watch.
Go Tribe. Well, hey, before we get started, we have a third Ultimate Warrior, and it's the greatest DJ around. It's your DJ's favorite DJ. I am, of course, talking about DJ Andrew Smith. He likes to let our listeners know what to expect because he just does it so much better than Ted or I can. So, Andy, why don't you let everyone know what to expect from our show?
DJ Andrew Smith. R.I.P. DMX, I am back again, just like your old ex. Now where the hood at? CLE, I'll be riding on this beat like an ATV. Now Ben Chris in the building and he's popping on them bottles. 2020 vision with the Horace Grant goggles. Coming in hot, hitting you with the facts while he's screaming Kazam like his name is Big Shaq. Now Teddy's living large and he's up in his mansion. 15 girlfriends, haters can't stand him. GQ Mag says the boy's so handsome, he'll steal your lady's heart and leave you with no ransom. Big old swagger, yo, that's my persona. Still running laps, even with Corona. All the tracks, and this is a burner. Call me Mr. Big Shot, but no Moderna.
You know, you really should get some Horace Grant goggles for Thursday night basketball. I think that would be pretty badass.
And then anytime I win, I just like spray champagne everywhere.
Yep.
I've already got the goggles on.
If you don't, I will, because I have to wear contacts when I play. So maybe I'll just get some.
See, I don't wear contacts, so it might make more sense for you. And also, it'd be sweet as hell. We could both get them.
We could wear our matching jazz shorts and both wear goggles.
Yeah, we'd have to get either some Bulls or some Orlando Magic ones to really go in with Horace Grant. But we are, of course, a Cleveland Cavaliers podcast. But this week, I just want to do things a little bit differently. We're going to talk about the Cavs, but there's some stuff going on in the NBA that I just think is a little bit more fun. We have a play-in tournament, and there's a bit of a race for these 7, 8, 9, 10 spots. So I guess before we really get into, the teams, Ted, do you like the idea of this play-in tournament?
So I didn't think I did at first, but I actually went and read how they're going to be doing it because I wasn't exactly sure. I didn't know. I knew it was best of 3, but I thought that meant they would do like a best of 3 against each other and then another best of 3. But that's not actually how it's going to work. So obviously the top 6 teams qualify and they don't have to worry about it. But then if you're 7 through 10, the way they're going to do it is the 7th place team and the 8th place team are going to play each other, and then the winner of that gets the 7th seed. And then the 10th place team and the 9th place team are going to play each other. And then whoever wins that plays the loser of the 7-8. And then that's the third game. Whoever wins that would get the 8th seed. So I thought it was going to need a lot more games to get it done. So I wasn't a big fan, but now that I actually know the way they're doing it, I think it's gonna be fun and add a little bit of almost like March Madness feeling to it. So I'm excited for it. What about you?
I love it personally, and I was confused at first when I was reading that because I assumed that the 7 would play the 10 and
Right.
the 8 would play the 9, but it actually gives the 7 and 8 seeds more of an advantage because they have
Right.
an extra chance to get in, compared to those lower seeds. So yeah, I love it. The main reason that I like it though, like it's going to be fun. One game do or die gives you that March Madness feel, but I also like that it seems like it's making less teams tank. So it's
Yeah.
making more games later in the season more important for more teams. So like in the East, you have this awesome race now, not only for the play-in, but also for the 6th seed.
Right.
And then with Boston and Toronto. And then in the West, you have kind of the same thing, but with an extra team. You've got Dallas, Portland, and Memphis all fighting for that 6. And usually the 6 and 7, wouldn't be that as important. I mean, it's still important. You always want to play the worst team that you can. So,
Right.
there's always been some value, but this really throws a whole nother thing into it. So, you could finish 7 and not even get into the actual playoffs if you don't win your game. So, but I'm going to stop myself here because I'm going to start going into all the teams that are fighting for these playoff spots. So, Ted, let me ask you first, and we'll start out East. Like, what teams do you want to see get into this play-in tournament?
So I don't think the Bulls are going to make it. They're currently a game and a half out from that 10th spot from the Wizards. They haven't had Zach LaVine, and I know that because he's on my fantasy team. So I don't see them making it. I think the only team who's out that's still battling is the Raptors. With the Wizards, that is, for that last spot. And I think I'd rather see the Wizards personally, just because there's more star power on that squad with Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
I mean, the Raptors, it's crazy that they've dropped this far this year, but I would much rather see Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook in a single elimination. I mean, they would have the star power over pretty much any other team that they're going up against.
Yeah.
And in a best of one, that could actually be an advantage there. So I'm hoping that it actually stays how it is at the 10th with the Wizards, but they're battling for that 7th seed right now. The Heat are currently in it. They're tied with the Celtics.
Yep, and I said that wrong. When I said the Raptors. I meant the Celtics and the Heat were battling for that 6th spot. I don't know why I said Raptors.
Yeah, that's all right. But there's only there's about 10 to 12 games depending on the team still left right now. So there could be some movement. The Knicks and Hawks are at 4 and 5 right now, but they're only up a game and a half on the Celtics and the Heat. So I definitely don't want the Hawks to be in it because I'm actually really excited to watch them. I haven't got to watch them much this year, and I think they're going to be a fun team here moving forward. So I'm hoping that the Heat actually stay in that and have to earn their way back in after going into the NBA Finals last year. And then the Hornets and Pacers are sitting in there. I don't see either of them making a move up the table. So that's what I'm hoping for. What about you?
Yeah, so I want Miami to jump into the 6, and it would be like if they're the 7, it would still be fun. It seems very Miami after like last year. Like they just always like overcame odds. Like I could see them being the 7 and like going to the finals, just like after what they did last year in the bubble. But I would like to see them move up to the 6. That brings Boston down into the play-in tournament. And what I want to happen, whether it is the first game or the second game, I want to see Boston play the Wizards because that's always been like a bit of a rivalry between those two. They've had some heated battles back when John Wall hit a game winner. It was like pounding on his chest. So I think that would be really fun. I also don't want the Pacers to be in there. I hate watching the Pacers. I would rather see the Bulls. And I don't want to see the Raptors in there either. I think they don't deserve it. The Bulls were actually trying. They made the move for Vucevic, so hopefully they can get hot. One crazy thing, man, like I'm just looking at this. The New York Knicks, the hottest team in the league, they are 9-1 in their last 10 games. I was about to say that Washington was the hottest team in the league, but they're 8-2 in their last 10. The Knicks are 9-1. So
Yeah.
anyway, so I'd like to see the Bulls jump up, the Celtics fall down. And then, I'd like to see the Celtics and Wizards at some point. And whoever the Hornets play is going to be fun because they're going to get Hayward back. LaMelo Ball is going to come back.
Right.
That team is going to be very fun to watch. So whoever they play is fine. Probably the Bulls. Levine will score 50 points, but the Bulls will still lose. And that's kind of what I'm expecting.
Yeah, I am excited to watch the Hornets too. And I think whatever team ends up being the 7th, whether it's the Heat, Celtics, or if the Knicks or Hawks do slide here at the end, I think whoever's in the 7th is going to make it regardless. I don't see that team losing 2 straight games to any of those teams losing 2 straight.
Right. I agree. Definitely agree there. How about out west? Have you had a chance to look out west? What do you think of that little battle?
Yeah, so the West is getting pretty tight for that that sixth seed spot. Right now we have the Blazers in 7th, and you said the hottest team was the Knicks. The coldest team is probably the Blazers right now.
Yeah.
They've lost 8 of their last 10.
Yep.
And they've shot down the standings. They're still only a game and a half back of Dallas for that 6th spot, but they are not playing too hot right now. And they got the Grizzlies creeping up on them.
Mm-hmm.
They just got Jaren Jackson Jr. back, which I'm very excited about. They're half a game back from the Blazers, 2 games back from Dallas. And they're actually playing the Nuggets today, so we'll see what happens there. But the Blazers and Grizzlies have one more game against each other this year, so that could end up being a huge game. And I love the Grizzlies, so
I do.
I would be excited to watch them in any play-in game.
You've loved the Grizzlies since OJ Mayo was on the team.
Yes, they had
orange juice mayonnaise, as I like to call him.
They did that old team. They had him, Rudy Gay, Zach Randolph, Marcus Sol, and then Ohio State's legend Mike Conley over there. So that's the reason I started liking them. So I'd be excited to watch them play. Ja Morant's always fun. I hate the 9 and 10 seeds though, and it's looking like the 10 seeds and 9 seeds going to be locked. The Pelicans are the closest at 4.5 back right now. I would love for them to make a run and probably take the Spurs over the Warriors, even though I hate the Warriors.
Yeah.
But if the Warriors did make it, I'd at least like to watch them get swept by the Jazz, being the number 1, most likely the number 1 seed this year. So
right.
And then the Spurs, I just haven't watched pretty much any of their games this year, so I wouldn't be that excited for them. But Blazers Grizzlies would be awesome, and if Dallas moves in there, that would be awesome too. So what are your thoughts on the West?
Yep. So the San Antonio Spurs, you mentioned them. The only thing that's cool about them this year is those sweet jerseys that they have, like this limited city edition ones or whatever, with the black and like the 90s colors on them. Those are sweet.
Those are pretty sweet.
But I would love for them to fall out. I don't even think they want to make the playoffs, so I would love to see the Pelicans jump in. But, yeah, it's going to be really hard. I mean, it would take a hard tank from the Spurs and like just a huge push from the Pelicans to make that happen.
And the Spurs won today too, actually.
Yep. So I would actually prefer this would be fun, Ted. Tell me this is the best game you could get.
Yeah.
The Golden State Warriors versus the Portland Trailblazers. You get Dame time, you get Steph Curry, and then Damian Lillard loves hitting series-winning, game-winning buzzer beaters, and I want him to hit one over Steph and wave bye-bye like he did to OKC when Paul George and Russell Westbrook were on that team. That is the dream, to see Damian Lillard, because, everyone always says, I mean, they compare Dame and Steph all the time, but it's always, Steph's a little better. He's a little better here, a little better there. I would love that so much. So that is the dream.
Awesome. Honestly, and if you're a top seed in the West, you don't want the Blazers. The Jazz and the Suns right now are 1 and 2. if I was them, I would just be praying they don't get the Blazers just because Damian Lillard is so clutch, and I wouldn't want to play him.
I mean, or the Warriors either. I mean, the Warriors have this championship pedigree. They're not the same team. I mean, there's no Clay. They're not the same team, but either way. And then, like the other team, the Grizzlies, dude, it'd be awesome to see the Grizzlies make it in too. Like, how cool would it be to watch John Morant in the playoffs? I mean, they almost made it last year, and then they ended up falling off a little bit at the end. Like,
if they didn't have the play-in, they would have been in. I think they were the 8th seed going into that.
Yep, they were. And then the Blazers beat them, right? I think it was the Blazers.
Yeah. Yep, it was the Blazers.
So
the Grizzlies just got like I said, they just got Jaren Jackson back, and he's like the other cornerstone for them moving forward. So I'd like to see those two actually get to play together more.
Yeah. No, for sure. The only team I would not be excited to watch is the Spurs. I mean, it'd be great. If the Pelicans jumped up, watching Zion in the playoffs would be fun. Probably not going to happen. So the Spurs are just going to have to lose the first game whenever they play it.
Yeah. Are you worried about the Lakers at all? They're down to the 5th seed right now.
Nah, not at all. We saw what LeBron did. Well, we were the 4 seed or the 5 seed in 2018. We made it to the finals. I know when we played the Pacers, I think we were the 4 and they were the 5. And then we knocked out the 1 seed Raptors in the second round, beat the 2 seed Celtics. I mean, LeBron's fine. He's just got to get healthy.
Yeah, and he is about to come back. And I know Davis just came back, but
Davis just came back.
Yeah, I know we were talking about the play-in, but if the Lakers did drop to the 6th seed, the Clippers are currently the 3 seed right now. And that would be an awesome first matchup to have Battle of LA in the first round.
Right off the bat, heck yeah. Like every other team in the West would be so happy that they would not. At least one of those teams is already eliminated.
Yeah.
If you're the Suns or the Jazz, like, I know you're a higher seed, but like, you don't want to see those guys.
Right. Yeah. I agree with you there.
Well, this is, before we get into the Cavs portion of the show, a good time to mention that we are a part of the Mark One Sports Network. We are, of course, the Ultimate Warriors. We talk all things Cleveland Cavaliers, NBA, but we've got a lot of other really cool shows for you guys to check out too. The Mark One Sports Show, kind of our flagship show, they talk about anything, whatever is hot in the world of news, sports, entertainment, whatever it is, they're talking about it. The Danger Zone, the Browns are finally good. We say this every week. I'm still not used to saying it, but we're finally good. So they're talking about the offseason, what we need to do to, really build on this and really contend for a Super Bowl next year, which it's weird to say that, but we really can. So definitely check out the Danger Zone. Rich and Josh do a great job there. And then we have CLE Tribecast, Jeremy and Kevin. They know everything there is to know about baseball. They're talking everything Cleveland Indians. We had a rough start, to the season, but we are on a 2-game winning streak, as Ted mentioned earlier. So a good time to check them out. Good time to listen in on what we need to do. And then, of course, we have Moneyline DFS. That's all fantasy sports. You like fantasy sports? Ethan's giving you free advice. It's free. He's winning big, and you can listen to him and hopefully win big as well. So make sure to check that out. But back to basketball, Ted. Let's start with we'll just start with Monday. So last week, we're going to kind of go through these games. I like to do a good and the bad. I like to give you some good news and some bad news from each one. So Monday night, the Cavs played the Pistons. We lost 105-109. So Ted, as always, good news or bad news? What do you want first?
Let's do the bad news.
Bad news, yeah, the bad news. What's that?
I said I want to get the bad news out of the way. Yeah, let's go. Let's start with bad news.
Yeah, Ted, the bad news is we lost to the Detroit Pistons. There's really not much more to say. That team is trash. We should not be losing to them. They're 18-40 on the season. I was looking at their roster during the game, and the most recognizable player is Jahlil Okafor, because he was like a high draft pick several years back, and like most people consider him a bust. But looking at the roster, that's like the name you go, oh yeah, I remember that guy. And he barely even played. I think he played 14 minutes. So that's the bad news. We lost to the Pistons. The good news, though, Ted, Colin Sexton, he had a pretty nice game. He ended up with 28 points, He also had 2 blocks, which is great for the young bull. He doesn't get a lot of blocks, so 2 blocks is cool. Also grabbed 7 boards and had 4 assists. So good game for Sexton. He also had a team high plus 11, but he was the only starter that was positive in the plus minus category. So Sexton had himself a nice little game. The rest of the Cavs, not so much. So anything that stood out to you from that one?
Well, yeah, you mentioned it. Sexton had 2 blocks. That ties his career high. So congratulations to Colin Sexton there. But just the fact that Colin Sexton had more blocks and more rebounds than Jared Allen that game. Allen only had 5 points, 5 boards, and 1 block. And like you said, Sexton had 2 blocks and 7 rebounds. Not a whole lot of production from the center that game. So we do tend to struggle when he's not efficient for us. So that I think that was a big reason we lost that one, and we only lost by 4. So it was there for the taking. But I do want to mention that Hartenstein, that center we got in that trade, he's been playing pretty well off the bench, and he's looking like he could be a backup center moving forward. He only played 20 minutes that game, had 13 points, 6 boards, 4 assists, and 3 blocks. And that was only 20 minutes. So he definitely outperformed Allen that game. And, I don't think he's ever going to be a starter, but if he can produce like that in, 15, 20 minutes a game, it's a valuable asset off the bench. So
you need someone.
Yeah. So that was the biggest positive I took from it.
Cool. Well, after that, we had a day off. And then comes Wednesday. So we played the Chicago Bulls. Cavs kicked their butts. All right. It was 121 to 105. So Ted, good or bad news? What do you want me to hit you with?
Ben, is there even bad news for this game? We won. So I want to hear your bad news.
Well, Ted, there's some bad news for the Bulls. They played all 15 players on their
never good.
Yeah.
That is never good.
Every single player for the Bulls played it. Normally, you have an 8 to 9 man rotation in the regular season, a blowout, maybe you see 10, 11, maybe 12 guys. You don't normally see 15 guys getting playing time. That is very, very rare. So the bad news is really just for the Bulls. They don't even know the rotation. They're trying to get into this play-in tournament. They made a big trade. Did you know their draft picks in that trade? If they are, I think it's if it's between 1 and 5, it goes to the Magic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So if they ended up winning the lottery, they wouldn't even get it?
I believe so, yes.
Wow, I did not know that. That's
so they really, when they got Vucevic, they went. They're like, hey, we are in this year, and it has not worked for them. So
they had some bad luck with Levine getting hurt right when that happened.
For sure.
Or not hurt. He's sick, I guess. I don't know. They haven't really disclosed the details on that, but it's COVID related.
Yep. Yeah. So that's the bad news. The good news, we may have kept the Bulls out of the play-in tournament that we've been talking about because they really needed that win. Before the game, they're looking at their schedule, trying to figure out which games they're going to win. They circled that. They checked that one off as a W. So I always love seeing Chicago lose ever since Joakim Noah talked a bunch of crap about Cleveland. But in other good news, Sexton, another solid scoring game. He gave us 30. Also went nuts from 3. Sexton.
I did.
Well, actually, not only Sexland went nuts from 3. Sexton was 3 for 4. Garland was 4 for 4. It's hard to beat any team when your guards are shooting like that. We also had Kevin Love. He shot 10 threes. He hit 4 of them, so 40%, good percentage. So it's always good when Kevin Love is involved. I mean, he's a liability on the defensive end so much. So if he's not spacing the floor and hitting shots on the offensive end, it really hurts the team. So it is good to see him being involved and these other guys hitting buckets.
Right.
How about you, Ted? Anything from that game stand out?
Yeah, I mean, I like that we were relatively healthy at this point in time. We had our normal starting lineup with Garland, Sexton, Allen, Okoro, and Love. We had Nance off the bench. I mean, we've been battling injuries all year. So, and we'll get to it later on, but we're dealing with injuries again now. So, but yeah, you mentioned it. Garland and Sexland definitely, both of them They balled out. Garland was 8 of 13 from the field. Sexton was 11 of 17. But I think the most important part of that game was Dean Wade in 10 minutes was plus 10. So I don't want to call him the MVP, but he might have been.
You do.
But he might have been. So.
I just told you that Sexton and Garland like went nuts from 3, right? You're still going with Wade though, huh?
Dean Wade, the effort he put in, he might have went 0 for 3 and didn't score a point, but that plus 10 was, I think that's what did it for us to put us over the edge.
There's a lot of ways to impact a basketball game. I know that because I can't shoot that well, and I just have to run around and, try to pester people, basically.
Yeah, and I will say, good news for you, the Bulls did win today, so that's going to help them get into that playing tourney.
That's very good news for the Chicago Bulls organization because they don't want to lose that pick.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's wild. I can't believe they would do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's top 5 protected. They just figured they'd be in the playoffs because they were already almost there, and then adding an all-star, like all right, we'll protect, like, or no, it's protected after 5. So they're like, there's no way we're going to get 1 through 5. And
okay.
So, but let's move on to the next game. This was Friday, the Cavs versus the Hornets. The Cavs ended up losing 102 to 108. Ted, you want the good or the bad first?
Yeah, let's switch it up. Let's go good first on this one.
So the good news, Sexland, we just talked about them. They showed up. Sexton had 28 points. Garland had 27. Good scoring output from this young backcourt. Other than that, the good news is this Hornets team is going to be fun to watch when they're healthy. I mean, we already discussed it. I was watching that game. I want to see LaMelo Ball and Gordon Hayward back in there. So they're going to be really fun to watch. But the good news for the Cavs, Sexland showed up. The bad news, we lost this game by just 6 points. Just 6. And, Ted, we had 15 turnovers compared to the Hornets, who had 6. So you think if we could protect the ball just a little bit better, a few less turnovers, we could win that game.
Yeah.
And then also bad news, Colin Sexton apparently had a concussion during that game. He got it in the first half of the game. He ran into Bismack Biyombo and got a concussion. And oddly enough, he played the rest of the game. And then afterwards, he didn't feel good. So really weird. But, yeah, so that's he got a concussion in the first half, and then he just kept scoring baskets in the second half, right? He didn't even know where he was.
That's wild. Yeah, he was 11 for 19 from the field with the concussion.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have missed a shot if he didn't have one, apparently.
Exactly. Yeah, he would have been 19 for 19 or whatever. So.
Wow, that's crazy. I knew he got a concussion. I didn't realize it was that early.
Yeah, no, they said it was the first half. I read the article. It was the first half when he ran into Bismack Biyombo, and he didn't even notice it. And then after the game, he started showing symptoms. So I don't think that's how concussions work. I feel like you notice them right away, but I don't know. I've never had one.
Yeah.
Anything stand out to you in that one?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really winnable game. With them not having LaMelo and Hayward, that was one I thought we might be able to pull away and come out on top with. But I mean, Sexton and Garland played decent. Like I said, Sexton was 11 for 19. Garland was 12 of 20. I mean, they both shot over 50%. Garland had 27. But Kevin Love really sucked this game. He was 3 of 11, only had 12 points. I mean, if he just plays an average game, we might be able to win that. So I thought that was a bad loss for us. And then Hartenstein, again, he only played 15 minutes, had 10 points and 5 boards, and was 5 for 5 from the field. So I just wanted to point him out again. He had another solid game.
Wow. Was he the MVP for you that game?
No, Dean Wade played 18 minutes. He had 2 points that game.
Those are big. That was a big 2.
I mean, he didn't miss a shot. He was 1 for 1.
Why he needs to shoot more?
Tell Kevin Love that. Kevin Love's seriously over there shooting 3 of 11.
Chucking him up when we got a guy who can't miss, man.
You got to feed him when he's hot.
Yeah. He probably hit that in the fourth quarter, like at the end of the game.
He probably did. I actually don't even remember the bucket, but yeah, that's all I took from that one. I am excited for the Hornets moving forward though, with Hayward and LaMelo when they get them back.
Yeah, and good for the Hornets, man. Like they've been, I mean, it's not like they're a top seed, but they've been fighting for so long to just like be relevant. And like LaMelo Ball has and Hayward too. They've kind of like put them on the map. So good for the Hornets. Good for Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
good for, the big ballers out there.
Even when the Hornets are good, they're like 500s.
Exactly.
They can never quite get. I think their best record that I can remember was 43-39. They were like 2 games above 500 or something.
Yeah, I mean, back you were probably 2 years old, but back when like Larry Johnson was there, they had some good teams. Muggsy Bogues, Alonzo Mourning.
Well, they weren't in Charlotte yet then, right?
No, that was Charlotte. They moved.
Oh, that's right.
Right. That was Charlotte.
That's
the
right.
Bobcats then came back.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. So since the Bobcats, they haven't done much. So there was one other game Sunday, the Cavs versus the Washington Wizards. Cavs lose again, 110-119. Ted, you want the good or the bad first? What do you want me to lay on you?
Give me the bad because I want to end with the positive.
Good. That's good. Well, Ted, the bad news is we absolutely sucked down the stretch of this game. I was watching this game. We were winning the game. It was a good game until like 5 minutes. I think we were up with 5 minutes left, and then we just could not make a play. Darius Garland had a few terrible turnovers when we were trying to hang in there and rally back and just stay with the Wizards. And that just really put the nail in the coffin, those turnovers. So that's the bad news. Absolutely terrible down the stretch. The good news, Jared Allen, he had a monster game. Garland was throwing him alley-oops. Jared Allen, he ended up with 27 points, 12 rebounds, some just highlight play dunks. I mean, things that were on SportsCenter the next day. He was 10 for 12 from the field, and he was 7 for 9 from the free throw line. So on the night, he shot 81% overall. So incredible shooting night from Allen. And I mean, a lot of the field shots were dunks, so that percentage is going to go up. But he hit his free throws as well, so you couldn't just foul him. So Great night, Jared Allen. Good job staying in it for 3.5 quarters. Absolutely terrible ending.
Yeah, and I was watching that game, and it was super physical, man. They were getting after it. I mean, Westbrook and Beal both got knocked up during that. And Westbrook almost had to miss the game today. He ended up playing, but he was questionable. And the Cavs got beat up too. Delly's hurt now. Hartenstein got a concussion.
Sexton already had a concussion.
Sexton already had one. Larry Nance got hurt as well. So like, it was a great game. And you mentioned it, the fourth quarter, I don't know what happened. We scored 93 points in the first 3 quarters and then only scored 17 in the fourth. Like, we just could not close. And that's been a trend all year. Yeah. We've been struggling in close games in the fourth quarter all year. Seeing us score under 20, unfortunately, in the fourth quarter is in a close game has kind of been the regular, which obviously shows in our record, but were you going to say something there?
Well, I mean, so the fourth quarter, like I said, Garland had a couple bad turnovers. It seemed like the moment was a little bit too big for him. The Wizards are fighting. I mean, they want to get into this. So they were, and you mentioned it was physical. I think Garland just was maybe overthinking it. They tried to get the ball to Kevin Love a couple times. It's really good in that spot when you've got a lead and this team is just fighting and, because really their back's against the wall. They need to win to get into this tournament. So they tried to go to Kevin Love. He sucked. And then Garland had a couple turnovers. And Westbrook was Russell Westbrook.
Yeah. And I felt bad for Garland too, because the first 3 quarters, he played awesome.
He did. Yeah. No Sexton. He had to step up. Yep.
Yeah. and he played amazing. And then the fourth quarter came around, and it just seemed like it was a little too big for him. He had a couple turnovers, and he also missed a couple shots that we really needed to stay in the game down the stretch. Yeah. I know he missed a layup,
floater,
he missed a couple of floaters, that he normally hits. So I felt bad for him because before the fourth, he was playing, I thought, a great game. And obviously, Allen, you mentioned him, had a huge game. I believe that was his career high, 27 points.
I think it was. I think you're right.
But you mentioned it. Wizards needed that way more than us, so good for them. But I felt bad for Garland down the stretch there because he did play a great game up until then.
Yeah. Well, Ted, that's all I have. Do you have an obscure Cav for us this week?
I do.
Okay.
So I'm not giving you too many hints on this one because he's currently on the Cavs. He's averaging. No. That's a good guess though, but he's not obscure. He's one of our best players.
He's our all-star.
Yeah, that would be too obvious. But he's currently on the Cavs. He's averaging 6.5 points, and he played only on the Knicks before this season. And he played in today's game quite a bit.
Dotson?
Yep. Damian Dotson.
Damian Dotson. I'm like, Dotson.
He's on our team, and he's so obscure. You still don't even Dotson. Dotson?
I think there's a Dotson. Is there a Dotson? No, he was the one time we did the show, he was our player of the game in one game, and I was like, this is not good.
Yeah.
So
that just shows you how much we've been battling injuries, that he just randomly has games where he plays a lot.
For sure, man. Well, hey, everybody, thank you for tuning in. If you've listened this long, that means you like us. Make sure you like, subscribe, review us. It helps us out. Ted, anything you want to say before we peace out here?
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys. And never forget, Warriors blew a 3-1 lead.
Yes, they did. Seconds.
It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again.